It's Lil Baby.
It's my like, oh, I'm doing something right here. Like when Ashna came up, everyone thinks that these are like genius marketing level like plannings, right? Ashna came up at the end of New York Fashion Week. I just got the Jungly deal. That was my first episode after the Jungly deal. Like Ashna was my first return guest. Nick was also my first return guest. But none of that was like planned.
Right.
Wow.
Like I didn't know I was getting the Jungly deal like that week, right?
And then it definitely helps.
Yeah, right. And I also didn't know that like Fashion Week had just like ended. I just like I was like, oh, Nick's in town. I like literally call them synchronicities in the universe.
I love
like,
that.
The universe has your back in a way. Like everything, what I like to say is whatever is meant to happen, it's happening exactly the way it's supposed to.
We're good? Cheers, guys. Let's start this.
Okay.
Start one.
Thank you.
How did you do?
Should we crack it open on mic?
Yo, I hope I like this.
Yeah, we usually do two ices.
So it's a tequila and vodka mix, isn't that?
No,
death?
that's tequila. This is vodka.
Oh, I love tequila, so I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, this is so cute.
Oh,
Oh, my gosh. Wait, was that planned?
no.
Shut
No.
up.
Yeah,
Wait,
no.
yeah.
No,
Let's start with
no.
that.
I have the crazy reaction. Sorry, I'm just extra.
No.
I'm just
I
extra.
thought it was crazy today too because I'm not really tracking to those
Crazy.
dates.
I feel like I am, so I thought this was planned.
No.
I thought this was
No.
planned too.
I did not
Well,
like.
I'm obsessed with the fact that it's happening.
No, right? Synchronicities in the universe.
Yeah. Cheers.
All right, we good? Let's do this. Damn. Welcome to Conversations with Chai. I'm your host, Ihram Chowdhury, aka Lil Baby Ram, for episode 35. First of all, happy Bengali New Year.
Happy Bengali New Year.
Happy Bengali New Year.
Boy, shout.
I have my Bengali sisters. I got Priya Via and Jeb.
Hi everyone.
Hello. So we were talking about it before. Obviously not planned.
Not planned.
Wow.
I lied. I thought this was planned, but we're finding out now that it wasn't.
No plans.
But I think it's just so conveniently amazing that we're able to celebrate in the studio together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little jungly moment.
Yeah, and everyone's Bangladeshi, Bengali.
I think it's so cool that like I always find it like because even though like all of us have like such like different like upbringings, backgrounds, right? But like the shared fact that that's how I know that our culture is truly a culture that's going to like last. Because us, like a generation removed, that still like means something to us.
Oh,
Yes, 100%.
I think about that all the time. You know those memes that are like, oh, my kid trying to speak like broken Bangla, Hindi, whatever, to me when I'm like 45 years old and I'm like, damn, I should have cultured them more. Like, I just hope that I'm able to retain enough of my culture and my language and everything so that doesn't happen. I want my kid to like speak my language, know my culture, and just like take that forward into their life too, because that was a huge part of my life growing up. My parents did such a good job just like making sure I knew.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like for me, it was instilled in me. My family is very culturally involved. However, I didn't kind of shed light to it until being an adult, if I have to be honest.
I feel that.
I did not really like how the Bangladeshi style sharis were worn during Poila Boishak. I was like, Mom, no, give me the sexy silky saris. But as I started getting into the influencing world and just having more like Bengali friends, Bangladeshi friends, I just started to embrace it more.
I love that for you.
I think it was like I think for us it's like everyone starts off kind of hating it when we're young because it's like we're like kind of like being conditioned to hate it a little bit, right? Like people
Really
are telling you, people are probably batching you in with all types of South Asians, and although we have like a lot of shared things in our culture, right? Like that in itself is something that's already diminishing what you are. Then you have like the negative stereotypes, right? That come with every South Asian, right? So you're also getting that. But then when you get older and you finally have like, you're not this like little kid who's just getting bullied for their things. You're like, oh wait, those are the things that make me like super fly.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I love that
my
phrasing.
God.
huh?
Yes.
Like it truly is. Cause I'm like, cause think about it. Like I think like culture to me, like, and especially the way that we get to do it now, right? Cause it's going to be a new culture, right? Like we're not going to be able to make our kids like Bangladeshi or Bengali the way that like our parents did for us or tried to do for us.
sure.
Right.
But we're going to have our own versions of whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Like we're going to celebrate shout out to like Muzzy and them. They're doing like a Boiler Boishak like event, like open
Monkey
bar,
King.
all of that. And I'm like, damn, like that's not how my
That's not
parents
how
would
parents
have
would have done it.
Yeah.
But that's exactly how I would want to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think we'll have a much better like idea of how to celebrate when it comes our time. I think for me, it was like, I think someone called me exotic before. I was like, whoa, I guess I am exotic. And yeah, it was just like, yep, proud Bangladeshi from there.
No, I think like for me, like that's why like things like Jungly for y'all, like in terms of like how y'all create content, right? Because that to me is like an extension of like culture, right? Like culture isn't like this like spelled out thing that's always going to stay stagnant, right? Even within what is considered like Bengali culture, right? Or like Indian culture or Pakistani culture, it's evolved over
sure.
time,
100%.
right?
Yep.
Like we're just putting our own like spins
Yep.
on it, right? Like I think about like something as like intrinsic to South Asian culture as like gold.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
And it's like, yeah, like we still have that. Like every brown boy like wants a gold chain, right?
Yep.
Every brown girl has a bunch of gold.
I want to be blinged
But
out.
it's not the same gold that we would have worn
Yeah.
in the motherland. But it's like, yo, that hasn't changed. We just
Yep.
kind of evolved on it, right?
Yep. That's right.
I
And-
totally agree. And actually, I think going back to your point about like being an adult and what you're doing as an adult, I feel like I had the same experience as you where like I grew up like being Bengali and I was like, I know that by word and by definition, but I didn't know it by like innately being Bengali. I was just like, I am this and like that's whatever. I wasn't surrounded by a lot of Bengali people growing up. We had to like go out of our way to find each other.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what NABC is?
No.
Oh, it's like the North American Bengali Conference.
Okay.
It's like we would like every year go out of our way to go to this conference to like be surrounded by other Bengali people, and I would hate it. I'd be like, oh my god, like gotta go to this thing and like go meet other Bengali people. But now as an adult, like there's so much more intentionality into it where like I have to go out of my way to invest myself into this culture that I otherwise grew up in because like I don't live at home.
Right.
My parents aren't gonna be like, Priya, by the way, it's Shubhanova Borsho, like it's Bengali New Year, do something about it. Like I have to do that and I have to find those events and that community for myself. And I feel like that's so important. And that intentionality changes everything.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's similar to me. I was pre-med. So in college, I had no social like extracurricular activities or anything like that. I was just in the library. And then I started getting out of my shell after college, after I said bye to pre-med.
Yeah.
And I started, just exploring, just trying to figure who I was, who I am. And I came across a Bangladesh Development Project.
Okay.
And I feel like it's a nonprofit. And I feel like that is what kind of shed light on, okay, I am Bangladeshi. There's more of us here. We're actually, coming together collectively to make a difference from back home. And that's where my connection was.
That's beautiful.
And I was just like, wow, we just need to figure it out and it'll just come to us.
It's like something that's like so intrinsic. Like think about it. Like I don't know about like y'all parents. Like, I'm sure, right? Like my parents like tried to like instill that in me, right? But it didn't really hold. But you know what's crazy? Years later, they never had to. Like I'm still like I'm
Something
like
clicks.
like it just clicked anyway, right? Like I probably have more like Bangladeshi friends, Indian friends now out of my own choices
I feel the
than
same
when
way.
they were trying to force it in, right?
Like we
Right.
find each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's we find each other, and it's also like, oh, these are like the types of Bengalis or the types of South Asians that I would want to hang out with, right? Because like when you're younger, you don't really have a choice of that, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
Oh yeah.
it's like whoever
I'm gonna
your
hang out
parent.
with you.
Yeah, it's like oh, we're going to this uncle's house or this aunt's house,
Family
right? Like
friends
go be
and
friends with
stuff.
their kids.
Yeah.
Their kid's a weirdo, and I'm just stuck here like, damn, like I hate it here.
Wait, well, I will say I feel like I was probably growing up the weirdo. Like I was the kid that probably no one wanted to be friends with, but like luckily like I think I've grown out of that shell. So like I think like I'm finally in that place where like I agree with you and I'm like finding my community and everything. But like like it goes back to like intentionality and like wanting to be surrounded by specific people that still are part of your community.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's like when people talk about like I hate that like community has become this like trendy buzzword, right?
Boo, it's not.
It's not at the truest form of it, right? Because community
Exactly.
is like one of the most important things, right?
Yeah.
Like think about like your adult happiness.
Yep.
Like that's all my parents were really trying to like create. They just thought it was through
Specific thing.
Yeah.
through specific Bengalis or through specific people, right? But it's like, oh, like that's like the community that maybe y'all felt validated or seen by.
Right.
But like so much of your adult happiness is predicated on who is around you.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Like you think that like I always say that like you think that you grew out of being weird. No, you just found your you just found
like,
your
you're a weirdo.
you just found your people that didn't make you feel weird.
I 100% agree,
Oh
and
my God.
I'm, if anything, I'm a proud weirdo.
Yes, I love that.
Thank you.
I love that.
Like I think like in the wrong room, like anybody they're made to feel that like, oh, there's something wrong with that person, right? Like people always like, oh, like they'll like tell me like, oh, you've changed over the years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe, right? But
Yeah.
my friends who have been friends with me for such a long time, they're like, he's been the same
Yeah.
person. It's just that certain rooms and certain people made me act or made me think I was off, right? Like
Right.
I always tell people the analogy that I have always felt like the black sheep in any
I felt that
social
so
group
hard.
or anything like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like that now.
Yeah. That's an amazing change.
that
I'm happy
is.
for you.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's like, but it's like not a change. Like nothing about me changed. Like I don't think it's just. I
Right.
think like the
The
people
people around
Right.
you changed. Yeah.
right? Like because then like certain intricacies of your own personality, it's like, oh, like these people like
Yeah.
have no problem with it.
Right.
They in honesty, they probably like celebrated
yeah,
it a lot.
you found your niche. Like I was growing up, I was called a fob.
Yeah.
I just think you can speak English, right? But when you speak Bangla, things are just funnier. And like, I don't know, I'm just a clown.
Yeah.
And growing up, I was called a fob. Oh, that's Jabba. She's just, she's a little fobby.
Yeah.
But now it's
Wait,
just
you
like,
grew up in New York though, right?
I did, but I still spoke Bangla because
Yeah.
we know when you want to explain things in a certain way, things are just funnier when you speak in Bangla. Like,
I completely agree.
Yeah, and after finding BDP after college, I was like,
Yeah.
wait, I like you guys. You guys get me. So I
amazing.
totally understand. Finding your own weirdos, if you want to
Yeah.
call it, or finding my own fobs. I
people,
don't,
yeah.
yeah.
What you mentioned though is kind of what makes me understand like why my parents probably wanted me to like be like with somebody like for their own benefit, somebody that was either South Asian or
Like
specifically-
romantically?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Specifically like Bengali or Bangladeshi, because like what you're saying is that oh, I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of it is linguistic for them.
Yep.
Right. And it's like, oh, like it makes it so much easier for them to have
Yeah.
Yep.
a relationship with whoever I'm with. If
100%.
they're from
The same part of
Yes.
same area, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
that's where I kind of have like now come around in old age. 'Cause I
Yes.
used to be so arrogant about it. I was like, bro, grow up.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You live here
yeah.
now, like.
I
Yeah.
get that.
But I get it, right? Like, because
Yeah.
I think about even like. Think about like your friends, right? Like there's certain things that are shared within that you don't ever have to explain
Right.
Right.
to your friends,
Intrinsic,
right?
yeah.
They just get it.
They just get it.
Where in New York did you grow up?
Jamaica Queen.
Wait, that's so when my parents first immigrated to New York, we lived in Jackson Heights.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and that's
okay.
like Jackson Heights, Flushing, Jamaica, Queens.
Yep.
These are like hubs of Bengali culture.
Yes.
Very recently, I went back to Jackson Heights and had some of the best Bengali food of my life.
Yes.
And then it was just an amazing time, just like being back there after like years, honestly. My parents still to this day, like being back there after years and like walking around, like we would drive into Jackson Heights and just go there to pick up the rasgulla. And then like literally just get rasgulla and ilish mach or whatever fish that they had
Right.
available. And those are like so intrinsic to growing up. But then like, now that I'm moved out, like no one is like saying like, okay, next Sunday we're going to Jackson Heights to go pick up rasgulla.
Right.
Like that's something that has to come from me now.
Yep.
And I feel like that's like a change that I'm seeing in myself where I'm like, I'm homesick for these like very specific Bengali experiences that like,
Oh my God. We can all go together, okay?
and we literally
together.
should, and we should go back and then we should go get puchka.
Oh yes.
The puchka trucks are addicting.
Yes.
I would literally follow them around like a dog if I could. But like, I'm just like that part of New York is so amazing. And I feel like, I don't know why, I feel like it flies kind of under the radar.
Yep.
Which I'm like, okay, maybe we should keep it that way.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
it's cool though because that's like little Bangladesh or like
Yeah.
that. It truly is like Jackson Heights on what is it 73rd
73rd.
Something like that, yeah.
right, bro. Like Sammy's is there,
Yes.
Premium is there,
Like,
like
come on,
Yeah.
King.
Kebab
Oh,
King is there, right?
Everything.
Like
Yeah.
it's like packed, right? I still like every time like my parents had like a similar experience, right? Like so Sammy's is on the corner over there, right?
Yeah.
Anytime my parents used to come back to like Jersey,
Yeah.
I would be like they would like pick it up, right? Like back when like Sammy's used to be like $5 for a
Yeah.
pop.
wow.
Oh yeah.
Chicken over
Wow.
rice, bro. But I think that
Crazy.
it's like cool though because it's like I see people now doing like Fushka house trips.
I know.
Yeah,
I see that
it's-
all over
yeah.
TikTok, and I think it's so cute. And obviously, I'm very happy that like that community is getting that recognition.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like also like I have not seen that before. Like Bengali communities getting recognition, and I'm going to go back to what we've talked about before with like the South Asian umbrella. we get obviously like all South Asians, whether you're Nepali, whether you're Bangladeshi, whether you're Indian, Pakistani, we get put into this umbrella a lot in the media, in the world. Like when I'm invited to an event and it's like an otherwise like, white brand. I don't know how else to say that. And like
Call it what it is. Call it
It is.
It's a white brand.
it's like a white-owned brand,
Yeah.
and they're probably trying to hit some sort of like maybe diversity check mark. And I see myself there as like one of maybe 2 brown faces in the room. I know that they're hitting a quota for like South Asian. And you can always tell, I feel.
Yep.
Where like you're just visibly in a room where it's like everybody else looks a certain way, and then you're the only one who's like the one who looks like yourself. And like it's frustrating because not only is like South Asian not a big enough bracket, there's so many different types of us. But then like when you go further and you're like, I am the only Bengali South Asian creator that is in this room. Like you're representing so many different niches and niche minorities at that point. So I feel like something that I'm recently focusing on doing more of is being loudly and proudly Bengali and not just South Asian. Like I changed my bio about a year and a half ago from being like whatever it was to being like I am Bengali Indian American. And I did that because people didn't know what I was and they would think I was Punjabi or they would think I was something else. There's nothing wrong with any of that, but I wanted it to be publicly known that I am Bengali.
I'm glad that you
love
did that because I didn't think I knew that about
A lot
you
of people
beforehand.
A lot of people don't know that I'm Bengali. And I just think that that's so crazy to me because for me, it's such a huge part of my existence and my identity. So I really wanted to make that more clear. And something I want to do now is I've been seeing this a lot with other people, doing a like get ready with me in Bengali.
Oh my God, you have to.
I really want to.
You have to. That is that's on my like bucket list
Yeah,
checklist.
like
to
it's
do.
on my like content creation like list of something that I want to do.
Yeah.
But I just feel like that would help like blast it out to you like, hey, I am Bengali, by the way.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thanks. You're encouraging me now to like, do that tomorrow.
Yes, you have to. And then that'll motivate me to get it done as well.
I love that.
I like so I go back and forth on this on a couple for different reasons, right? Mohia actually said something recently, right, where it's like a lot of these like spaces, like a lot of these creator spaces are not like they're not really focused. It's South Asian because it is the umbrella, but it's not truly highlighting every type of
100%.
creator, right? Especially like y'all as Bengali creators are going to, even in a South Asian space, y'all are probably still going to be the minority.
That's
right. Which, okay, so like this is where I go back and forth. And let me ask out like what you guys think about this. So I think that it's important that I maintain or y'all maintain that we are Bengali.
Yep.
But I also don't want to do the disservice of isolating into a section. Because I've seen that in other creators that are Bengali that primarily brand themselves as Bengalis.
Yeah.
And then they're kind of on a silo by themselves. Because we're still a part of like a larger
yes.
community.
No. And I'm
100%.
completely in line with you. And actually, I might have a hot take about this. So when I brand myself as a creator, as someone who has a doctorate in pharmacy, who has like, this, in my opinion, like certain thing I want to offer the world when it comes to my media and my creative outlook and everything, I brand myself not as my ethnicity or my diversity checkmark at all first. First of all, I say I'm a creator. I'm a PharmD. I'm this. And then also I'm South Asian. And also I'm Bengali. So for my first step, I'm like, don't silo me at all. Take me at face value. Because I never want to be a diversity checkmark.
Yeah.
No matter what it is.
100%.
So I'm always like, I'm a creator first and then everything else. Ambika Dar from One Day on Netflix, if you guys are familiar with her.
Yo, that
That
show,
series?
that show
Insane.
absolutely destroyed me.
In tears. For
It
so
made me
long.
depressed for like a while.
Yeah.
I still have
Yeah.
like really bad like flashbacks around that because I'm just
In
like,
shambles.
yeah, like I was like, why would you guys do this, right? Like,
She has this very, I think, poignant interview where she's like talking about the show on like a panel or something, and she talks about how like in the show they specifically didn't make her character a South Asian woman like outwardly. She just was South Asian, and that wasn't a huge part of the plot or like the dialogue. She just was.
Yeah.
And she was a South Asian woman going through life, and you never had to be like, oh, she's South Asian and like this is something about it that's in my face to prove that she is. She just was. And she was just at the end of the day a woman going through these different experiences, but also South Asian. And I felt like that was the most impactful representation because I was like, this shows like humanity at its core, that she was able to be in this role so beautifully, so perfectly, but not have it be like, by the way, this South Asian character is now taking this role. Like, it was just so seamless, and I loved that. And she talks about it, and I think that that's a great approach.
I think when culture develops a little bit further, because like those things are so true, right? Like, y'all are going to be creators. Like, I'm going to be a podcaster, but like that, like being Bengali is a part of my personality, but it is not my whole personality, right? Like, I'm gonna like again, because like it's to establish a stereotype and monolith. Like, we've already done all of the same like tropes. Like, oh, I was bullied as a kid. They made fun of my food. Yeah, that's cool and all, but
the
like, we have
in my biryani.
But we have so much more than that. Like, think about like us three in this room, right? Like, we have such like unique things about our own personalities outside. Do we have the shared thing that we are Bengali and we have these shared cultural moments? And I'm sure there's shared things, but we would see that anyway throughout just development of time. But to chalk my entire persona, my entire life into this,
that niche,
that is like such like a limiting thing, because I think it's like a balance. It's like,
it's a balance.
It is.
Yes, I am Bengali, but I'm also somebody who grew up in hip hop. I'm also somebody who like went to school wherever I went to school to. I'm also all
so
of
many
these
things. Yep.
Right, and it's like, I don't know if, again, balance, holding on to that, but not being defined
by it. That's such a good way to put it. And actually, speaking to that, and I have a question for you also, as a Bengali creator in media and everything. Like, for me, I think I'm trying to flip the balance more in the other way, because I feel like I have been so prominently just like a creator who people don't even know are Bengali. So is Bengali. So I'm like at the point where I'm like, I want to incorporate that into my content more now in a way that's seamless, and it's just like talking about who I am, bringing the Bengali aspect of myself into that, but not necessarily completely changing the context of my content in general. But like, there's nothing wrong with having your content be predominantly like focused on being Bengali or South Asian or whatever. I think just it's a choice and it's a balance. So for you, like, how do you feel about that?
So for the longest time, as I've mentioned before, I just didn't have that much pride in being Bangladeshi until a couple of years after college, where I was just like, wait, let me just figure me out. Because my household is very education driven. Yeah. All I did was just be in tutoring centers for all my life, like 4 of them. Yeah. And I didn't have even... I love my parents, but I didn't have time to like do anything extracurricular, do anything, or just figure out who I was as a creator. So for me now as a creator, I am going to sprinkle some, I'm Bangladeshi, what's up?
Hell yeah.
Hi, I'm here. So, but I do agree with you guys that, at the end of the day, we do need to balance. Don't just categorize me as a Bangladeshi creator. Like, I am more than that. There's so many different layers. Right. I'm still a New Yorker. I came here when I was 1 year old. I
also came here when I was 1 year old.
Oh my God, that's great.
Oh, are we all immigrants?
I was 8 months old. I got my vaccine shot.
I have my vaccine shot. Yeah, that's another shared
I got my little scar. I feel like that having that scar is like such a like, it's a flex.
It is. It is that dual citizenship.
I think what like from like a business view on that, I think it's important, because it's like, like for us to be palatable and for us to like grow long term, like listen, like they gonna get the Bengali content anyway. Like, I would say that anyway, right? Yeah. Like, you gonna get like an Eid Mubarak from me. You gonna get all of that. You gonna get all of that anyway, right? My goal is not that. Like, I don't have to focus on that part of it, because that's already a part of who I am, and that's already a part of our culture, right? Like the things that I do in my day-to-day life, like that's gonna reflect out anyway. Yeah. But I want to make sure that it's like, it's cool that I was able to do like 30 plus episodes in with like, and not have this come up as a Bengali podcast. So then I could hit them.
But now it's amazing that you're able to like bring it in so seamlessly.
But that's what I'm saying. Because again, like y'all content, like I've seen both of y'all stuff. It appeals to a mass audience, right? Yeah. But then you get to hit that mass audience with, this is also part of my culture.
I completely agree. And I feel like if anything, I can educate people. Yeah. There's so many people who so like, I'm Bengali, but I'm Bengali from India. So like my family is from Kolkata. A lot of people are not aware that you can be Bengali and not from Bangladesh. Yep. And obviously nothing wrong with being from Bangladesh and Bengali or Bangladeshi Bengali or being Indian Bengali. But that like, minute difference is something people aren't even aware of. Even amongst the South Asian community. And I feel like that's something that like, you know, I can educate on and I can teach people about. And I do like with my peers and stuff. And like, I'm excited to like teach my audience about it a little bit more, hopefully.
Yeah.
But
100%.
I just think like things like that, those nuances, I wouldn't be able to teach anyone if I wasn't reaching more people who weren't coming to me just for that Bengali content. But now people who come to me for like other things like fashion and like lifestyle, whatever, now they'll also learn something new.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just amazing. Growing up, I'm sure everyone can agree, I didn't see that many Bangladeshi Bengali creators at all.
Oh
and
my
then
God, yeah.
just,
Did not
just
exist.
being out there and getting recognition, yes, you can be a creator too. I think that's why I love doing what I do. Because as a little girl, I always wanted to be in front of the camera. I always just wanted to be a model, representation, have my own nonprofit, just be that Bangladeshi woman that, you know, has power. And I want little girls or people in college right now, elementary school, to be like, yes, I can do that too. Because growing up, I felt hopeless. I felt like, oh my God, like I don't look like that. My parents are first generation. I'm first generation.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen for me. So the fact that, you know, I'm meeting you and I'm on this podcast and you're doing this and I just found out you're Bengali too. It's just like the
cute.
little Jabba right now is happy. You guys saw my reaction, right?
That was so excited. I was like, oh,
That was the most authentic reaction.
Yeah,
Very sweet.
No, honestly, I'm truly just I have
always-
butterflies right now.
I always say like
talking about it.
The coolest thing is that like, yo, like for us, like obviously we love our culture, right? But the biggest service that we can actually do for our culture is that education piece that Priya's talking about, right? But how does that happen? It's like, yo, I'm gonna do more for my culture, right? Getting into certain rooms that like getting into certain rooms, getting on certain screens that we would have touched.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like hard to explain. I'm sure like for y'all too, like it's probably difficult to explain what y'all do in your presence and your impact to your parents that probably don't get it. And it's like, if you guys like, I think if I haven't been vocal enough about it with my parents, I'm like, damn, if you really understood like what I'm trying to do, right? Or what y'all are trying to do, like you would like have like a high value of respect for it, because I'm actually trying to do what you've instilled in me. Back to they did try to instill it. And you know what's crazy enough? It probably did hold, but we're just doing it in our own way, right?
Well, I feel like
100%.
Bengali people have this very culturally innate sense of appreciation for art, like community in general, music, media. Like we are obsessed with all of that, theater. So there's definitely like something that's in our culture that is proud of this aspect. It's just frustrating when it's like, okay, like how's your actual job?
Yes. Oh my God. All those dollars, right?
How's your 9 to 5?
Yep. And you're kind of categorized into doctor, lawyer, like all of that. And it's still crazy to me. It's still crazy to me. But for me, my personal goal is I am going to do whatever I want to do that makes me happy and also get money. Get money.
But that to me, like the get money piece, like I feel that same way. But the get money piece to me is just the scoreboard. Like the get money piece is just how I show the rest of y'all that this is a real thing. Because that's the only validation, unfortunately, like in the society that we're in, like that's the validation piece, right? Because I know y'all impact, right? But until I can show my parents, like I don't think like my parents even understand when I tell them like, yo, like we just did $500,000, right? Like, bro, my dad's in media too. My dad's a journalist, right?
Okay,
awesome.
But when he hears like $500,000, I'm like, I don't think you understand like how visible like I am, like all of that, right?
Yeah.
But the only time you're going to get that is when I'm like, yo, you know what? Like I'm just quitting my 9 to 5 because I'm making so much bread out of here, right? Like that's the only time. Unfortunate, right? Because it's like hard for somebody to understand like impact, unless they're within that community, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, like both of y'all super visible. Like I know who y'all are. Like Saz know who. Like you know what I'm saying. Like I told my sister that I was having both of y'all on. She follows both of y'all independently.
Amazing.
But
that's
so within the community,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, like there's presence, right?
Yeah.
But your parents aren't gonna get that because they're not my target audience.
And they're not,
No.
in that younger community for sure.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like parents like struggle to understand like, well, my parents are not in this boat anymore. Luckily, I feel like my parents are, maybe my mom is maybe too supportive of my TikTok career. So my mom did this really funny thing where she for Christmas, she printed out a book of a screenshot of every single TikTok I've ever made in my life.
Oh my God.
No, it is the cutest and sweetest thing ever.
Amazing.
People in the comment section were like, this is so sweet of your mom to gift to you, because you never know if certain things will disappear in the world. Like, TikTok was threatened to be banned or something. So if that were the case, like, I would have lost the tangible, like, evidence of like all of this success and like impact I've had over the years. But now I had this like booklet of it.
Wow.
So like my parents have definitely had a like 180 on what this all is. But like when I first started, like during the pandemic, my parents were like, what are you doing with your camera?
Yeah.
They're like, no way a company is gonna pay you money to take a video in your bedroom holding their product. Like, you're insane. And then I was like, I'm insane. Look at my tax return.
Watch me.
Look at what's happening. But like, obviously, like having the numbers and the metrics to prove it is nice. But like, what I think for people who are starting off and who don't have all of that to prove to their parents, because like I think that's the harder starting point, like to prove to them that there is something here, being a creative is worth it and it's valuable in this world, even if you don't have the metrics or the money yet. I think what you have to prove to them isn't that there's money in it, but that there's something that you bring there. You shouldn't want to do all of this just for the money.
100%.
And I'm not saying that you guys are saying that, but like, I think if you're trying to be a creative, if you're trying to enter into this foray, you should have something you offer. And like, we offer so many different things uniquely and independently. You should be able to anchor on that. And then you should know that value, and you should be able to communicate that to your parents and be like, look, I want to share this with the world. I have this vision. And if they don't see it yet, they won't. But like, if you can anchor on something and they can see it, I feel like that makes a difference.
I think us collectively, Bangladeshis, South Asians in general, that check mark and that validation from our parents, I feel like means a lot.
It really does.
I am still going through that. I feel like 2024, I'm trying my best just to have tunnel vision and just go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Not hear any opinions. And I care a lot, guys, about what my parents think.
Yo,
And I'm not gonna lie, it has stopped me. It has stopped me over and over again since 2020.
why has it stopped you?
Because I hate when they're upset at me for doing social media.
Reframe that. That's my fuel. That's my fuel. I'm all like, yo, I've actually gotten everybody who I would have wanted to co-sign me
Yes.
has co-signed me.
I love
Every
that.
single one of my idols in this industry has, like, whether it be like Ani, Sharad, Ashna, like the people that I respect have already given me that. So if that's my accomplishment piece, I'd already be done. The only thing that keeps me going is that. Is to be able to look. It's honestly like my dad more so. It's to be able to look at my, like, this is how I know, like, every brown boy has the same child, right? I'm living this like life. I'm like just on a constant tear of like, I need to be so undeniably huge that like
They can't say anything.
they can't say a thing.
I'm on the same boat.
Like I want my parents to say with as much pride as they said when I first got my full-time offer.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my son works at XYZ company as this.
Yeah.
I want them to say, yo, my son has XYZ brands, XYZ businesses that he owns.
Right.
Yes.
Like, that's like the goal. Like, to
That
be
is.
so undeniable where it's like, yeah, my son does that.
I think that like getting your parents' approval is such a motivating factor for brown kids.
It is.
Like, it is like, I feel like that's kind of what propels us a lot in our lives. And I feel like maybe that's why so many of us excel in what we do, because a brown dad's approval is worth its weight in gold.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm lucky that like my parents are in that stage of like really accepting and loving what I do. And talking maybe too much about it. My mom will like go to the aunties and be like, oh, Priya posted this new TikTok. I'm like, can we stop?
But that's so fire.
That
we
is
got there.
amazing.
'Cause
Can
what
we
you're saying
stop
is so true, right?
No,
Like,
but I wasn't there once upon a time, right? And once upon a time, it wasn't even that I was hiding it, but I was just like not talking about it with my parents. And my mom would be like, what are you doing? And I'd be like, nothing. Like hoping they can't hear me recording in my room.
Right.
But like, I've crossed that boundary with them after almost 4 years of doing this.
Yep.
And it wasn't until this past year that I took it seriously. Like, I bought a domain for myself. I got signed to a management agency. Like, there are steps that happen that I could like show them and be like, look, like, this is having like the fruits of the labor that you've seen for so long.
And that's amazing. That's gold
you.
within right there.
Thank you.
For me, it was the opposite. So like I was saying before, I kept on stopping. I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I kept on stopping. But this was the year that I'm just making this year my bitch.
Full steam ahead.
Bro,
just
good to
going
work. Yo,
and
you've done
just
crazy
doing
things.
it.
Like I know that like it's probably hard to communicate to your parents. You did a video with Mumsy, right?
Yes.
Bro,
Yes.
like that in itself is such a huge thing that
Yep.
I understand because
Yep.
I'm within that, right?
Yep.
But like I get that if you told your parents like, yeah, I did a music video with
Oh,
Mumsy
gosh.
Stranger, they'd be like, what does that mean?
What does
though,
that
right?
mean? Right.
But like that is a huge deal. Like when I think about like a South Asian like legend, like I think
Yes.
Mumsy Stranger, right?
100%.
Like he's been active since I was like 13,
Yep.
15,
Yep.
whatever, right? And he's still active. So like the fact that y'all did that, you did that, that is a real stamp, whether your parents validate that or
I
not.
know. And
100%.
little Jebba, I was obsessed with Mumsy Stranger's
Wait,
music.
that's so cute.
When I was
Love this for
8th
you.
grade, 7th grade, and the fact that I think it was 2020 came around or 2021, I was like, wait. This was a full circle moment.
Yeah.
And I know in the beginning we were talking about energies and just being aligned and how we didn't know that the Bengali Bangladeshi podcast was happening April 14th. Like that was my moment where everything just worked out.
Yeah.
And I think if we believe there's definitely going to be more moments like that for all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
'Cause we said it before. I don't know if you said it on mic, but you said like that's like the indication from God, universe that you're doing the right thing.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I like realized like people it's gonna sound like a little witchy and like a little like
No, I
just a
love
hippie.
witchy. I love
like
witchy
I'm just like a
too.
hippie, right?
Wait, did you guys know that in Bengali culture, quick sidebar, black magic is a big thing?
Yes. Yeah.
So like I feel like it's in my nature to be like, yeah, the
Like gin stories,
Oh
blue
my
stories,
God,
like that's like a
yes.
very I didn't realize that until like especially like Bengali women.
Yeah.
It's like a very big part of like their
Oh my
like
gosh.
because I think they're like I think like something about them. They're so much more like spiritually
we're definitely very spiritual.
like
Yeah,
spiritually
as a
in
community,
fact.
yeah.
That is a fact. This is so funny. So as we were walking here, I was like, "Oh, can I guess your sign?"
was cute.
I was just like,
You nailed it.
Let me figure. I got it in the first take.
What do you think I am?
Oh snap. Okay, but can you give me one hint? The beginning of the year, end of the year.
And
Okay. Can I get 2 chances?
yeah, go take a shot.
Are you a Capricorn?
No,
Okay, you can't be a Sag.
no.
I don't know. Okay. One last chance. Okay, one last chance. Okay, either a Libra or
I feel like he gives me
Scorpio.
Scorpio.
Okay.
You gave me Scorpio.
I'm
Okay.
Scorpio.
Oh man, damn.
But I
I'm
would
not
say
that great.
Okay, you
I would
took all
I
the
would say like
shots.
I would say
just
like
guessed
I would
at
say
the
like
end.
South Asian women, Bengali women, right? Specifically, like regardless of where they are on like the religious spectrum, they're always some level of like
Spiritual.
spiritual.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that's like
Yes.
something that I've like noticed. Like I always trust in. It's like bad. Like they're just so good at like reading people. Like whether it be my mom, whether it's like my girl, like their reads on people
Like on point.
are so good. Like so good. Like I like because I have to like dissect it and truly
Yeah.
break them down. Like I think I'm good in terms of like reading people's energies, but it takes me like a minute.
yeah.
Like I need like solid like fact. I can tell based off of energies, but some of them like they don't have like they're like, oh, you've never even met this person,
Yep.
but you got the person's essence on point.
My mom is
Yeah.
like that to the
Yeah.
T. She'll be like, "That girl doesn't like you.
Yeah.
She doesn't not the right vibe." And every time my mom has ever said that about a girl, a guy, someone in my life,
It's usually right.
so right.
So right.
And I have had to say, you told me so to my mother so many times.
So many times.
Tell me that don't taste the worst. Tell me that don't taste the
No,
worst.
I think like at this age, I'm like, Mom, what do you feel about her? Like, she's
Oh, really?
I'm like, Mom, what do you
Yeah.
think? Like, should I be friends with her? Like,
Yeah.
I'm at the age now where I'm like calling my mom like twice a day, being like, hey.
Like she's proven it to you.
Yeah, and I'm like, I think like adulthood changes your relationship with your
Oh,
parents a lot.
100%. 100%. And then like, okay, just, I don't know if this is true, but like, did your parents or your mom say if your left eye twitches, something bad's gonna happen? Or was that just my
No, but my mom has like 50 different sayings.
No, we have like a
that.
bunch of those.
She's
right
like,
now.
she's like,
God.
if you bite your own tongue or your mouth, like when
Yes.
someone's talking about you.
Someone's talking about you. Yep, I know that one.
Yeah. She's like, oh my God, if you like bump into something on your way out of the room, like when you're leaving, you have to return and come sit back down and like sit for like 5 to 10 minutes before you leave again or else
Okay.
like something bad's gonna happen.
Never
A
heard
little
that one.
reset. I never heard that one, but
Those,
I'm gonna
yo,
do
don't
it.
tell me those because then I start subscribing to all of them,
yes.
right?
Yep,
Like,
that's been my
Yes.
entire life.
it's not even a
Yes.
Bengali thing, but like my roommate's like South Indian, right? So they don't like split poles.
Oh,
they're like, if you split
was
a
it South
pool.
Indian? I thought that was just like a thing.
Oh, I don't know. Like he was like the first person that told me that, and now I'm like, damn, this is not even something I really.
I know
wanna
you
talk
asked
about.
him to.
And now I'm
I
like,
know.
fuck, I can't split this pole. Now we gotta go back around. Like it's so annoying.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So my superstitiousness is up here, and it's my mom.
Yeah, it's the mother.
People, it's weird though. Like when people talk about like spirituality or like vibes, right? I'm all like, it gets like a bad rep, right, by Benny who like don't understand it. But I'm all like, when you're truly in tune, and like really feeling things, like you're so on point.
Yeah.
Like you're so on point to the things that like you don't need like raw rationalities and like
Right.
facts. Honestly, like I've been able to. It's crazy. I was telling y'all about like a business deal that went wrong the last 2 weeks. Right? It's crazy. After the first conversation that I had with that person, I like called my girl, I called my team, and I was like, "Yo, this didn't feel right." But he's offering something insane to me.
Yeah.
But then, like, you know, went through my due diligence, and then as I'm getting it, I'm all like, damn, it still don't feel right, feel right.
Right.
And then at the end of it, we came to realize, like, why it didn't feel right.
Right. I love
And then
that for
everybody
you.
was like, yo, you already knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
It's
a
your
big,
gut.
I'm
It's
a
your
big
gut.
believer in a gut feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's your gut. And okay, so I work in HR. So I'm a recruiter.
Okay.
I recruit nurses. And when I tell you that gut feeling is always right, it's right.
Really?
Like, and it's crazy. You know when people said, oh, go with your gut feeling? I never believed that until, I didn't even know what that meant until now being an adult. Because one way or another, you'll figure it out and it'll come to you. So
that's my biggest
insane.
advice to like people. I'm like, yo, y'all are doing things that aren't really true to you, so you don't really have feelings about this, right?
Right.
Like, because I always think that, like, because people always hit me up, be like, yo, like I'm like starting this podcast, like I want to plan it out. I'm like, and they think like I have this like master plan. Again, I have a vision, right? But I don't have any, like, for example, like we talked about like booking these guests. Like people ask like how I book guests.
Yeah.
Or like, so people are gonna think that you went out of your way to book me and her on Bengali New Year at the time of like, people are gonna think that, but like it's just crazy because that never happened.
Yo,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
what I'm saying about like I think I'm at the stage of my life and like career where I honestly just do things based off of like pure feeling, like
Vibes.
what guests,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
vibes,
Yep.
like just pure.
a
Like
vibe.
people ask like how do you pick guests? So I've had guests that are like 10,000 followers. I've had guests that are like 250,000 followers. Right? Like that shit don't matter to me.
Right.
It just like, does this feel like right now?
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Like even like when like the timing with y'all, like like I track everybody and I'm all like, for example, like Priya, right? And how the things come to be, it's like, wow, that is like universe - gut. Because I was like, you were telling the story about how we got connected. That was so random. Priya
my
thought that
God.
I tapped that person to reach out to
Someone,
Priya.
Oh,
someone who was
wow.
like in my like circle from like when I was in college, who I hadn't spoken to in so long, reached out to me and was like, "Hey, like, do you want to be on this podcast?" And I was like, "Hello, hi, how have you been?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And I had friends who were on this podcast, so I was those were already green lights of their own because I was like, okay, those are people I adore and trust. So like
Yeah.
if they had the judgment to be here, and like I feel like what you are doing that's really great, Ihram, is like you're building this network of people who've also come on here and had good experiences to share back. So like as you keep tapping into that network, whether it's here, whether you go to other cities, whatever, like one thing about the South Asian community, we talk. And brands should know this too, honestly. They don't know this enough. And I guess this is a brand in its own way. So like it's great that you're doing this. But brands like don't realize that we all talk to each other. And then like unfortunately sometimes South Asian like brands, they quote very low prices compared to like the standards right now.
Oh, yeah.
But we all talk to
with
each
you
other.
on that.
All of
Yep.
us South Asian creators are like, hey, like, is this reasonable? Is this what you got?
Yes.
And I love that camaraderie that we have because it changes everything. And I feel like there is no way to like exist in this community unless you're like pulling each other up.
Yep.
And there is space for everybody.
Yep, that's right. And I think that's something that I had to like unlearn. Obviously, like growing up, I again didn't have that sense of community.
Yeah.
And now that I do, I'm just like we came across, your podcast and I was just like, wait, I love what this guy is doing. And there's so many influential people and I'm just like, wow, like I just never thought we would have one of these as a South Asian, creator. So that's
No,
kudos to you.
I think that that's a big, like, the purpose of this is that I already see a community, like talk about building community. I already see the community, but I see pockets of community. I see sub communities, right?
Yeah,
but I
totally.
think that there's an opportunity, and that's like honestly what I'm trying to drive here.
To like unite
right,
it.
is to connect all of it, because that's
Yeah.
how I think we create a true movement.
100%.
Yeah.
Because all of us, like there is space enough for all of us, but it's only if all of us are the entire market, right? Like when we talk about like hip hop, right? Like that's always like how I track our culture too, right? So hip hop when it first started out, right? It was just a small community, and therefore there could only be one, like there could only be a DMX, or there could only be a Jay-Z, or there could only be a KRS-One. But now, because hip hop has become so massive,
So global, yeah.
so global,
Yeah.
that it's every rapper that's semi-talented gets a look, right?
Yep.
And then the people at the top of it are obviously getting bigger looks. There's so many South Asians. That's why the conversation about like whether we want to isolate ourselves as Bengalis is a disservice, right? There are a bunch of Bengalis, but you know what there's a lot more of? A bunch of South Asian people that have always felt underrepresented. There's a bunch more diaspora people that have always felt underrepresented. Those are the things that we share in our culture that is going to tie all of us together. Like the things that we share, right?
Yeah.
Like the experiences, although there are typical tropes, they're typical tropes for a reason. We've all had to
100%.
endure them,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
And like we're going to build out, and this is the cool thing about what y'all are doing, what this podcast is, what Jungly is doing, what all of these businesses are doing. When we teach our culture to our kids and our future generations, the goal is that there's things that we can point at and be like, yo, consume this.
Yes.
Because when we had that, we really couldn't.
I agree.
Like, what could we have like really pointed to? What could our parents have pointed at us and be like, yo, this is your culture?
Yeah.
They had to point at some shit from back in the motherland
Yeah.
and be like, that's your culture. And I'm looking at that. Is that my culture?
Yeah.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I actually, going off of that a little bit, something else that I think is really important for the South Asian community that we're building as a whole to do is like, you know, obviously we have our struggles and we have so much that we still have to overcome, and so many places that we still deserve to be in, so many rooms we deserve to be in. We, as a community and as a minority that has like statistically better rankings in so many places in demographics, and I mean like South Asians are one of the most rich demographics
Oh, yes.
in the country, if not maybe like a lot of countries. So I think it's our responsibility also to like point to consuming content that helps other minorities and that helps other, otherwise, disenfranchised minorities, and like just give them the limelight as well. And I think that's a service that we should provide as a community as well.
Absolutely.
100%.
I always say it all the time. I'm like, yo, y'all listen to podcasts and shit every day. I know that.
Yep.
Right? But I don't say this arrogantly, but everybody should be listening to this.
Yeah.
Because like this is like, regardless of how you feel about like me, like the whatever, right? As a host, whatever, right? It's more so like, yo, everybody here should be heard. That's like again like the big reason that this exists, right?
Right.
Because I see all of y'all building in y'all respective things, but that's a part of like obviously that's
The bigger
content.
picture.
That's a
Yeah.
part of the bigger picture. But I want people to know y'all. Like again, we see it in hip hop, right? Like we're not just a fan of like the rapper for the music.
Right.
We also know the personality. We know the stories, because that's what creates true like culture, right? It's like when you feel like there's an intrinsic bond between you and said person.
Yeah.
Right. And like that's like honestly like when I talk about like documenting and storytelling, like this shit is like exciting to me now because I love it. But
Yeah.
this shit is so I was telling y'all on the way over here, this shit is more exciting to me 5 years from now. Like
Yeah.
if y'all are the faces of whatever brands or whatever nonprofits or whatever organizations,
Yeah.
that to me is a bigger deal. So like when I say like, yo, it is, why would it, if this was on like a huge network, right? It would only be good for our people. I'm not switching up who's coming up here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
right.
gonna be y'all. It's gonna be people that look like us forever,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
So like, because I always think about it. I'm all like, yo, like somebody like for example, like Hassan or whoever, Avantika, right? Like that's everybody's getting to see somebody that look
Yep.
like us.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's what just got me so excited to be here. Like you creating this platform and just
Yo,
this togetherness.
It's the togetherness. It's that
Yeah.
everybody is building. Like I see everybody
Yeah.
in their own light creating something special, right? Like again, because we can't all do it all, right?
No.
That's why like that whole scarcity thing has to die. That
Yeah.
has to die. Like
Yep.
everybody should be looking at everybody else, being like, I want you to be the biggest thing in your space.
Yeah.
Right? I want you to be the
100%.
biggest thing in your space. I don't want you to compete against other South Asians.
Yeah.
I want you
Yeah.
to compete against everybody the fuck else.
Yep.
Like I don't want to be
100%,
like I would say I don't want to be the biggest brown podcast. Like I have no,
No.
desire for that.
Yeah.
I want to be the biggest,
biggest
podcast period.
Yes.
Right?
Love that. Yeah.
That's the goal. Like you like
Yep.
I don't want to be the biggest South Asian content creator. I don't want to
Yes.
get the biggest South Asian bag. I want to get the biggest creator bag period.
Period. Yeah.
Right? That's the goal. I think we're wrapping up, guys, but I end every, shout out to Jungly. I end every episode with a segment called Call Your Shot, presented by Jungly. We talked a lot about like spirituality, but it's my version of like manifesting. The goal here is that you say something on the pod next 3 to 5 years that you are going to make happen. And the goal is that y'all do it.
Oh shit.
Y'all do it, and then I get to, it's documented, so I get to hit y'all whenever it happens and be like, yo, you said it, and then you did it. Right?
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you guys both, call your shot.
I'm gonna need you to go first.
Oh snap. Okay. 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5, whatever, timeline. Something you're going to make happen. Personal, professional, whatever.
Okay. In 3 to 5 years, I am going to have one of the top nonprofit South Asian empowerment programs in the world.
That's amazing.
Fire.
Period.
That's
Fire.
amazing. I love that so
Are
much.
you're a founder of BD Development, or are you working with
So
BD
I'm one of the directors.
Okay.
I recently got a director position.
Wait, that's
Hey.
amazing. That's amazing.
Yep. So, and just a little side note, my Instagram is called Never Be Gender Specific. I've never told the story why.
Yeah.
So I went to Forest Hills High School. There was only 5 of us. And I just remember all the South Asian girls that were my best friends. We were in 10th grade. It was my first time meeting them, and we would want to obviously do things. And my South Asian besties would just be like, "Oh no, I can't do that. I'm a girl. Like guys do that." So I authentically came up with "Never Be Gender Specific." That's just a phrase that I would just tell everyone, like, stop it.
I love that.
And
love
yep,
that.
that's where it came from. And that was when I came up with that when I was 15. And I ran with it. So every single time someone says something to me, like, you can't do that, you're a girl,
Yeah.
never be gender specific.
No, I
And
love
so
that.
the goal is to
Obsessed
turn
with
that into a nonprofit somehow and just empower women, or empower anyone. Just do it. Like, shut up and just do it.
No,
okay?
I'm
I love
That's
that.
obsessed with that.
I love that.
Yeah,
so
that was
good.
just my little story.
No,
Wait,
absolutely.
I was wondering where you
Yeah.
coming from.
Yeah, oh my God, I get so many crazy things.
But now
that's what it
I'm
is.
obsessed with
That's
that.
what it is.
That's so good.
Thank you.
Wow, I don't think I can top that by any means, and I don't plan to or want to try even. But I think like the way I see the next 3 to 5 years is just like, this is like, I just moved to New York 2 months ago, so I feel like I view my journey in New York as like this growth period. I almost view it as like kind of like an investment.
Yeah.
And I just like, I work full time, and work is tough, but I also work full time with content. And I really look at it that way because, I am 9 to 5ing, but then I'm like 5 to 9ing and then weekending. And then like today I had 2 shoots.
Yep.
So it's like, it's a lot, but I just want to put in a lot of my heart with it and just see where it takes me. And I don't care about a number. And I don't care about a specific company. I just want to stay authentic to who I am and like anchor to like what my values are in terms of the types of companies I want to work with and like the types of brand deals I would take and like what those company values are, and continue to share that on with my audience. So that's like my vision for content. And then from another perspective, I do work in healthcare. I went to pharmacy school. And something that isn't spoken about nearly enough is like women's healthcare and women's pain. And women's pain is like almost like criminally underdiagnosed or cared about. I would love to just, like when I was in college, I was involved in a lot of women's healthcare things. Would love to move forward with more initiatives that, focus on women's healthcare. So hopefully that's something I can make come into fruition.
We can partner together.
That would be truly amazing.
I love that. And I want to say that y'all were so fire in the way that you both approached this. Y'all didn't, for everybody like listening, they did not know each other prior to this, right? So I thought it was fire, like the energy that you guys brought, the connection, and I hope y'all maintain that, because that's truly a bigger goal of this, right? To ensure that like we are all connected, right? Like I want it to be personal, and like I always say, anybody that come up here, family forever.
Thanks for bringing
right?
us together.
Anything that y'all need from me, each other, I hope y'all are reaching out and having those conversations, because again, this come up together. And Priya, don't ever diminish being sustainable. People want to do this for 2 to 3 years, right? You want to do this forever. Like that's the goal.
I 100% would
want
love
to do this forever, right?
Yeah.
Thank you guys again for doing this.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Listening. Happy New Year, Eid Mubarak, all of that.
Shubha Navabarsha.
Yo, peace.
That was good. Oh
That
my
was so
God.
good.
That was great vibes.